In the headlines, Prime Minister Skerrit defends what he calls Dominica's international obligation to fight terrorism, a Trinidadian to head the Dominica Red Cross from next week, and over $1 million of equipment donated to government to help beef up emergency response. I am Idona John Baptist with the Channel 5 News. Details after this. Welcome back. First up, Prime Minister Skerrit says government's anti-terrorism bill is part of an international obligation to fight terrorism. Government intends on reading the bill at Parliament on Monday.
Obviously, in respect to this legislation, the United States of America has taken a particular interest in it because, in large measure, they have been one of the major sufferers of terrorist activities in the world. And they have been at the forefront of advocating stronger legislation to ensure that we can feel and block any potential cracks which exist in the international community. And we agree with them.
The act addresses offenses, financing of terrorism, extradition and mutual assistance in criminal matters, and seizure and forfeiture of terrorist property.
You never know when a terrorist act may happen in Dominica. And what do you do? How do you treat with it if it were to happen? Where's the legislation to deal with it if it were to happen? And what are we going to sit and say, well, this is for the United States to deal with, this is for France to deal with, this is for the European Union to deal with, we in the Caribbean, we don't need this, this is for these people to deal with? No. We have a role to play as part of the international community to play our part in ensuring and assuring the safety of the world citizens.
Last week, opposition leader Lennox Linton raised a red flag to sections of the proposed bill on the basis of statements he said which described his party as behaving like terrorists. Mr. Skerrit said Dominica has ratified several international agreements, including the 1975 Biological Weapons Convention, as part of a goal to fight acts of terrorism.
All of these conventions were ratified by the government of Dominica. And if you go to these conventions, you will see that in this piece of legislation, there are many aspects of the conventions embedded in this legislation. The question is, who was the government in 1997? Who was the government in 1999? Who was the government in 1991? Who was the government in 1998? So, who was the government in 1972? In 1992, sorry. All of these things are part of an international effort to combat terrorism. And Dominica, as small as we are, and as abstract as we may be to the rest of the world, we have a role to play as part of the part of the community of nations. So for anybody to reduce this to partisanship cannot be a statesman and does not understand the international legal obligations of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Over $1 million EC in logistics assets have been handed over to the government of Dominica to help strengthen emergency preparedness.
The World Food Programme, which was among the first aid organizations in Dominica after Hurricane Maria, handed over the equipment on Thursday. The WFP played a critical role in the storage and distribution of humanitarian relief supplies following the storm. Head of mission for the WFP in Dominica, Benjamin De Barros, says the equipment will help government strengthen its response to future disasters.
The United Nations World Food Programme is handing over today key logistic assets worth $512,000 or 1.3 million EC to the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica as part of its efforts to strengthen its preparedness and response capacities to future emergencies. The assets handed over by the WFP include mobile storage units, prefab offices and living accommodations, vehicles, boats, emergency telecommunication assets, and IT equipment. This will allow the country to strengthen its local capacities in terms of planning, transportation, and distribution of humanitarian relief for the new hurricane season, which already began the 1st of June and will finish on November 30th.
Minister for Climate Resilience and Disaster Management, Joseph Isaac, expressed gratitude for the equipment and promised they will continue to be used to help the people of Dominica.
These assets have been used to assist the people of Dominica post-Hurricane Maria, and now will be in place for further use as we enter the new hurricane season. The equipment, vehicles, and other logistic resources are greatly needed at this time as we prepare, and will also be used to continue the great work of the World Food Programme. I wish to say to the Office of Disaster Management and the citizens of Dominica that we need to cherish and take good care of the resources, because they do not come easily and they do not come every day. So we really have to take care of them.
Outside of the hurricane season, the equipment will be used by the National Emergency Planning Organization through the Office of Disaster Management for preparedness and mitigation activities. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
In other top stories, a Trinidadian will lead the operations at the Dominica Red Cross as Director General as of next week. Hernandez of Trinidad will take up the job as the restructuring of the institution is complete. Dr. Jocelyn Salmon of Jamaica has been spearheading the restructuring process since February after the exit of then Director General Kathleen Pinard Byrne.
The last thing I have to do is to recommend my replacement to the governing board, and that has taken place. The board met on Monday evening and appointed a new director.
Okay. So what does that mean for your stint?
It means that my time is coming to an end. Next week, Wednesday, is my last day on the job. My replacement is Mr. Earl Hernandez from Trinidad and Tobago. And he will be coming in town this weekend and will be here for a few days for the handover. And after that point, at a certain point, he will then take over from me.
Dr. Salmon said in a previous interview that part of his task was to restore public trust in the organization and instill transparency. Having reactivated all 8 branches of the Dominica Red Cross and elected a new board, Salmon is satisfied that his mission is accomplished.
It's not only that I am satisfied, but my board is also very satisfied that what I came here to accomplish has been accomplished. And I'm pleased, because if my board weren't satisfied with that, then I would be disappointed.
So where do we go from here? Does that mean that you're totally letting go Dominica's hands?
No, not at all. I have an agreement with the Federation, International Federation of Red Cross, Red Crescent Societies, that I will continue to monitor events here, and I will mentor my replacement. The fact of the matter is that when you have initiated changes, if you do not monitor, then it is easy for things to revert to where they were before. We do not want that to happen, and so I have an understanding with the Federation that I'll come back periodically to monitor what's going on.
The OECS Commission is playing its part to help provide climate-resilient building options to the Dominican people.
This as the Commission facilitated a 2-day visit by a St. Lucian company which provides high-quality, durable building products. Managing Director of Caribbean Awning Production Company Limited, Paula Calderon, says one such product is PVC cladding for ceilings and walls, which falls in line with Dominica's Build Back Better campaign.
Now that you're doing roofing, it is more economical to use than drywall or wood, because one, it is termite resistant. That's the first thing. It reduces the heat by 3% in your home. It is already painted. There's very little maintenance. It's easy to install. It's water resistant. It's European product, and therefore we can guarantee you a 10-year warranty, which wood or any other drywall does not. So it cannot fall down like drywall. It's very stable, and it is doing extremely well in the rest of the Caribbean, and anybody can purchase it because you do not pay duty on it because it's made in a CARICOM country.
Despite what Calderon describes as a sturdy, resilient building product, she is disappointed in the lack of a response from government officials who she has reached out to incorporate this product into the climate-resilient building movement.
I have been in contact with the government officials. I've emailed almost every department long before today, trying to get them involved. And we have not had the response that we expected to have. And in fact, we actually think that since they will be doing probably housing for other people and introducing new housing for persons, the products that we have is actually going to reduce the construction cost for the government and for the people of Dominica. So, you know, sometimes we don't take the time to come and look at things like what we are presenting today, but sometimes people need to make an effort to come and see because it benefits them in the long run.
Caribbean Awning has also developed a retention system for their hurricane shutters, which will bolster their efficiency and reduce the impact of a severe weather system.
Retention system, what happens is that you have the side tracks and the slats actually lock in the side track. So when the wind blows against them, the slat lock in the side track, so they're not able to come out of the side tracks. So the retention system does that. What the previous system that we have, when we put the storm bars, what it's going to do is going to prevent the slats from coming out of the track. So it's going to brace the slats in place so that when the wind blows against it, the storm bars resist.
You're watching Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more news after the break. Thank you for staying with us. A church leader is endorsing the use of marijuana. President of the Dominica Evangelical Association, Pastor Randy Rodney, says he does not think it reasonable for a man to make a plant unlawful.
I have always been of the view that the criminalization of a plant should have been relooked at. When our legislation was passed then, one can argue that there probably was need to do that. However, in this age, in this enlightened age, to have to criminalize a plant all by itself, that legislation, in my view, must be looked at with regard to, from the perspective that to make a plant illegitimate is not wise, and I don't think it's biblical either.
However, the pastor of the Truth and Grace Fellowship Global Church says he does not support smoking of the plant.
The reality about that is the world is moving to reduce smoking. Smoking is bad for your health, we are told. Whether you smoke marijuana, tobacco, castor oil leaf, or whatever you smoke, smoking is bad for your health. So I do not in any way, shape, or form endorse decriminalizing marijuana for the use of recreation, i.e. smoking. Because it's going to aid in the destruction of the body, the temple of the Holy Ghost. There is evidence that people who have indulged in prolonged smoking of marijuana, we see the effects on them. And I know there are arguments for and against this. But largely, you can almost tell the effects on the individuals who smoke marijuana by just looking simply at the behavior of some of them.
What he endorses is using extracts of cannabis for medicinal purposes.
We all understand the powerful use of herb medication everywhere. And I am sure that there are some extracts from the plant that could be used for certain cure. Still, I think in its embryonic stages in terms of discovery as to what is there and what it is good for. If there is that, then I have absolutely no difficulties with it. So that you decriminalize the plant for the use of health. Using that drug for smoking and recreation is not a good move. If you decriminalize it for other reasons, for medicinal purposes, I have no difficulties with that.
In related news, the Dominica Christian Council will meet in July where their position on the use of marijuana will be defined to be made public. President of the Dominica Christian Council, Bishop Gabriel Malzé, said it's certainly a matter to be addressed. However, he says he does not want to be flippant on the issue and would wait until members of the group meet next month. His Lordship Malzé says he expects they can have a white paper on the church's position on marijuana use. Superintendent of the Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Novel Josiah, says his church has not had a discussion about the matter. However, he says a position by the church would surround stewardship of life. Meantime, President of the Evangelical Association, Pastor Rodney, encourages church leaders to make their position public.
I have, in a very informal setting, already said to our executive board members that this is a subject that we need to study and present a paper on, because it impinges on the welfare of people. Our job as church deals with people's, socio-development, their spiritual upliftment, and anything that impinges on that impinges on what we do. As well, like I said, every herb that you consider, every herb is a God-created herb. And because it's a God-created herb, we have a certain portfolio or a certain response as the people who bring forth God's word and holders, if you like, of the tenets of faith, to be able to share what God would want us to share on that. Not just thrashing something because we always thrashed it, but discuss it from an intelligent perspective and present a perspective on it that helps society.
And the Ministry of Education has embarked on another program to improve the education system.
The two-day Training of Trainers workshop for the professional development of principals and senior teachers got underway on Thursday. Assistant Chief Education Officer Dr. Jeffrey Blaise says continuous training is key in creating a cadre of excellent teachers and principals.
As any professional, if you don't interact with your colleagues, if you don't interact with knowledge and skills on a constant basis, you will not be able to deliver effectively. This initiative today is part of a 4-pillar project under the Global Partnership in Education. And the 4 areas are professional development, curriculum development, leadership, and monitoring and evaluation. The intent of this activity is really to train a cadre of excellent teachers and principals at our school.
Chief Education Officer Melina Fontaine says this workshop falls under the OECS Education Sector Strategy. The ultimate aim of this project is to have a sustainable structure in place for the continuous professional development of teachers.
The OECS Education Sector Strategy was developed with input from all OECS member states to address the challenges and gaps within our education system and for the further development of the sector. Dominica was fortunate to be among 4 of the OECS islands to qualify for a combined grant of $2 million to address issues related to curriculum and assessment, teacher professional development, leadership and accountability, and monitoring and evaluation within our education system. It is expected that by the end of the project, the Education Division will have a sustainable structure in place for continuous professional development.
To end the news, the headlines again. Prime Minister Skerrit defends what he calls Dominica's international obligation to fight terrorism. A Trinidadian to head the Dominica Red Cross as of next week. And over $1 million of equipment donated to government to help beef up emergency preparedness. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Idona John Baptist. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow.